everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip and we have got a tomato disaster. This poor little beefsteak tomato is the victim of inadequate support and a windstorm that we had the other day where we had over 100km/h winds gust through. But this tomato support that it's actually growing in is one that I wanted to throw out and felt bad because it still wasn't broken, but I felt like it wasn't really strong enough to provide much support to tomatoes. If you've been here before, you'll know that my preferred tomato support, you will be able to see kind of the edge of it here. It's a galvanized panel with star picket posts supporting the panel, and that allows me for the most part to keep my tomatoes under control. But this is a bit of a mess and I don't think we'll be keeping this tomato cage for next season, but at least it's kind of semi-supported for now. But we do have some beautiful tomatoes here, but like this one has already been attacked by caterpillars. So we need to protect our tomatoes. I've been really slack at doing this and I've noticed we have got some caterpillar damage out here, which is really diabolical. But we're going to try and rescue our tomatoes. There are a couple that are looking a bit rough after the windstorm and unsupported, so we're going to do what we can for them, and then we're going to try and also help the wayward blackberries. But we've only got about an hour before sunset because it has been very, very hot here. We are on the south coast of New South Wales, zone 10 in Australia, and there is a dog at the base of the camera, which is why the camera is wobbling. But we've got a lot to do and not a lot of sunlight left, so let's try and see if we can save some tomatoes. I am a little bit limited with what I can do to support this beefsteak tomato, so I'm just going to try and attach what I can to this other tomato support. Both are beefsteaks, and the other one's looking better because obviously it hasn't been flopped over on the ground for a while, and it's been more supported since the beginning. This one flopped over actually quite a while ago, but I might just do a little bit of branch snipping on this one. I am usually anti-tomato maintenance, mostly because I don't have time and I can't be bothered. But because this one's been flopped over, I might do a little bit of tidy up, and what I'm going to be looking for is more tomatoes that have grubs in them, and I'm also going to start bagging some of the tomatoes to protect them. I do have some more basil that I need to plant around my tomatoes. I tend to grow my basil by cuttings, so I just snap off some basil off an existing plant, chuck it in a vase with some water for 2 weeks, and bada bing bada boom, you have a nice big fat seedling with juicy roots. And if you'd sowed basil seeds, they would take weeks to get going, so I don't really bother with basil seeds. I find them to be a waste of time. So we're going to plant a few more basil, but we need to get this guy sorted first. Bagging the tomatoes is not a perfect solution. So for example, here I've got a whole cluster and half of them are stuck on one side and the other half are stuck on the other, and there's actually a few clusters in here like that. So I'm not going to do anything about those ones, but I'm just trying to protect the ones I can with relative ease. The other thing I'm hoping that these bags will do is protect against fruit fly, which some years are really terrible and attack heaps and heaps of the tomatoes, and when you cut into the tomatoes you end up with maggots, and some years it's not so bad. But hopefully these bags will give me a little bit of protection as these tomatoes hopefully ripen sometime soon. I've never actually had any success growing beefsteak and mortgage lifter tomatoes before. They usually get knocked off by the parrots or broken in the wind, or they just didn't work out previously. So it's interesting to see how they're very much grown in clumps, and that does make them hard to bag and give them space to still grow. But we'll see how we go. Hopefully this will be something we can repeat next year as well. So that's one bed done, but it's not the only wayward tomato we've had this week. So I'm just going to keep going bed to bed and tidying up anything that needs to be tidied up and bagging what I can. Now, I don't really worry too much about making sure I take off the suckers or where I prune the branch. If it's got disease, I just cut it off, and I figure if it's in my way, I break it, get rid of it before it breaks off. And also, I don't really worry about the suckers or anything like that, because I figure the tomato plant knows what it's doing better than I do. So I just leave it to do its own thing. Generally, I try to be a little bit more on top of my tomatoes than I have been this year. They just were growing very, very slowly this year, and then suddenly took off, and I have not been able to keep up with them since. What I usually use are these little plastic tomato clips. In theory, you can use them again next year, but what I find is the harsh Australian sun tends to damage them. But you can use these to help train single strands of tomatoes up a string, and you just place the string in here in the crease and clip it, and it'll stay still. The nice thing is you can easily clip and unclip these, so you can move them around as the tomato needs the support in different places. I find for the most part that using the tomato clips and training essentially the plant in which direction I want it to grow mostly means I avoid snap branches. But when you've had 100-kilometer-hour gusts of wind, it's not going to be perfect when you come back out into the garden. And we do have on this side a pineapple tomato, and the pineapple tomatoes this year have been a bit questionable. So the first one was one I bought from the store, and it looked beautiful and healthy, and it flushed up nicely, and it got really big, but it had these weird looking leaves that had a slightly golden sheen to them, but they were mostly just a strange shape. And I thought, oh, okay, and I just let it go, we see what it does. And then it never got any flowers to grow fruit, so I thought, well, I'm going to cut this out and see what happened. And the inside of the main trunk of the stem was rotten, so I pulled that, and then there are two more next to where that plant was that I had grown from seed, including this one we're trying to rescue. Oh, whoops, broke it. Both of the two I've grown from seed have also had the weird looking leaves. I pulled one of them and it looked totally fine in the stem, so I've left this last final pineapple tomato plant, and it is producing flowers. I haven't seen any signs of fruit yet, but I'm wondering if there's actually some sort of soil disease in this bed, and I think I might not grow tomatoes in this bed for maybe 1 or 2 years, and we'll see how it goes. So that was a bit diabolical. While we were just working on the tomatoes, the puppies decided they were going to come in here into the blueberry and strawberry area, and then a bunch of beautiful rosellas landed on top of the blackberries. So they've obviously finally worked out that the blackberries are there. which is why we're doing the blackberries today before we lose them all. We've got to go over and bag them all up and protect them. And the dogs charged for the birds with no realization that they were in the netting, pulled the netting down, and we're in chaos. So because it's the quickest solution, I'm just going to use these tomato clips to clip this closed. So we did have a little bird stuck in here yesterday morning and I had to get it out. It's just because I've become lax with closing the kind of curtain shield around it, just because the berries are pretty much gone. So I haven't been all that worried, but I guess if we're going to have dogs in here, hey, we're going to have dogs and little tiny birds, better make sure it's nice and tightened up. And we better finish bagging these tomatoes and get onto the blackberries. Did you chase the rosella away? Did you? Such a big, brave boy. I did actually find a couple of pineapple tomatoes, and these were the parrot's favorite. So I am just going to make sure I bag them up early. So maybe this year I will get one pineapple tomato. That would be a feat, given how much the parrots want these tomatoes. Given that we have parrot and time pressure, so we've got 20 minutes left of sunlight, I'm just going to leave the tomatoes because I feel like they're less of a priority. I don't feel like they're under as great a peril as the blackberries are. And I'm just going to get in here and start bagging up the blackberries. They're exactly the same bags. They're from Temu. I think they were advertised as like grape protectors. And I'm using these this year instead of what I tried last year, which was just a bird netting around the tomatoes, because bird netting didn't work. I still had fruit fly, I still had bird attacks, I think we still had bush rat attacks. So I'm hopeful that this is actually a better solution. And I mean, I'm not going to be able to get all the berries because some of them are in weird spots like the tomatoes, but at least it deters the birds a little bit and it protects the harvest for the most part. I do wait till it looks like they're all covered in berries, whereas this one still has some flowers that could use a little bit more bee time. So I'm going to do that, and then tomorrow we'll get out here with some fencing wire to run between the galvanized panels that I have to try and tame some of the wayward canes that have grown in the last 2 weeks with the rain we've had. And I want to try and preserve as much of this blueberry as possible. It has grown much bigger than they said it would, as I'm sure all blueberries do, but I want to preserve as much as possible and train the canes as much as possible because I want as many blackberries as possible because I love blackberries. But I don't want my whole backyard to turn into a blackberry. So if we have to prune it, then we have to prune it. But for now, there are a ton of blackberries here, and I'm not donating them to the birds. So we're gonna harvest as we go and bag up what we can. lucky we stopped doing the tomatoes and came over to the blackberries, because I have now used up all the remaining bags I have on, I would say maybe like, I want to say 90% of the berries, but everywhere I looked there were more berries. It's so amazing how prolific they are. And I even had to upgrade the bowl size, and I only harvested a smaller bowl, but still a decent bowl of blackberries 4 days ago. So there is putting on a massive amount of berries, and they're just so tasty. But the sun has set, my hands are painted, and it is time to go inside. So we will continue this job tomorrow, but I bet you I've missed some berries. They were just everywhere I looked. Every time I thought I got them all, there were more berries. It's just amazing how much this plant is putting on. This is its second season in the ground, but its first season producing berries. Amazing. This is like beyond my wildest dreams of what I thought I could grow in my backyard. I seem to be having massive mic pack and camera issues this morning, so apologies. But what we're going to do is pop a couple of these star picket posts in to try and prop up both a wayward tomato and an overgrown chili plant. I'm hoping that putting the two stakes close together will be able to provide a little bit more support to this tomato plant while also supporting the chili plant. But first we've got to get this old frame supported. Oh, that's at least better. So all I'm using is a soft twist tie, and I'm popping that round the frame and around the stake to hold everything up. And then wherever I can, I'll use tomato clips like to support this one branch. But we just got to get the frame secure first. Now it's up, I can't see in there to find the frame through all these beetroot seeds. Oh, I might go around the other side, through the chili plant, and just hope for the best. But I think these tomato frames are destined either for the tip or to only grow sweet peas from now on. Let's get this guy as supported as we can, because it looks like this frame's not even going to be remotely tall enough for these beefsteak tomatoes. But just do what we can. It's not an ideal situation at all. I think the rest of the plant is actually growing through the middle of the frame, which is something, but then it's kind of flopping over on the top. So I guess we will have to see how this one goes, but at least it's off the floor for now. So I'm just going to pull the chili plant up to the same stakes. Actually, there's a stake right near it, and we'll get it off the floor as well at the same time. So we've got this guy supported up now, but we've got a ton of chilies all over the ground and one broken branch. But I'm going to worry about the chilies later, because there's a whole bunch that need to be harvested, and I want to do a herb freeze dryer session soon, so I will come out and pick these when I do that. But today is already roasting hot, so I want to get these blackberries supported and get out of the heat, especially seeing the camera is already having meltdowns and I haven't even been using it that long. Well, hopefully you guys can see that what we've got on these blackberries is a frame either side that is supporting the berries, and what I'm going to try and do now is try and create a like linking pathway through in between those two panels so that I've got somewhere else to attach the wayward strands to, and to kind of control this blackberry plant a little bit. What I'm using is fencing wire. Now, I have no idea where it came from other than from my dad. And my dad is one of those guys that has much stronger thumbs than I have, so I actually don't think I'm going to be able to bend that too much. I think I'll just loosely attach it and then get dear old dad to come and use his strong thumbs. But what I'm going to do is cut the cables and try my best to wind it round. But I don't know where dad gets this stuff from or these ideas from, but he has worked in a bunch of different trades throughout his life, and he's one of those guys that has the tool for everything or bits of equipment lying around in his garage. And so anytime I need something or need a new tool, I'm like, Dad! And so that's where I've got this fencing wire from, but it's a wee bit strong for my hands. I'm even having trouble cutting this stuff, so either I don't have enough hand strength or I don't have the right tools, so I'm gonna have to have another chat with my dad. But I think he might be able to fix what I can't next time he comes down. He's the kind of guy that can't sit still, so he will want to have jobs to do when he comes back down next. But let's see what we can do. Independent woman! God, you'd never know I actually work with my hands, would you? Depressingly, where I want to attach these wires on the galvanized panel looks a bit rusted. I'll be very sad when that gives. I think bending these things might be a bit of an acquired skill. I'm getting a bit better at it, but far out, it's not easy. Okay, let's do one more. Ooh, it's a blackberry. 2, yum. Get in my belly. And I've got to find the other side through the shrubbery. It makes me think of Monty Python. You must bring us a shrubbery. We are the knights who say me. Now, let's string up this blackberry plant.
Running low on the borderlines, and you tell me that you're doing fine. Morning color lights the hall, pulls you right on through the door. So hold onto all that feeds your soul.
We're all out of bags, we're all out of tomato clips, so that puts an end to the taming of the tomatoes and the taming of the blackberries. I'm pretty happy with how much we got done, but hopefully I'll have more bags and more tomato clips arriving really, really soon. Normally I get my tomato clips on Amazon, but this time I ordered them on Temu because I was already ordering the bags from Temu. So we'll see what the quality is like. They were cheaper on Temu, so like just about everything, but we will see if it's Temu quality or the same as the good Amazon ones, because there are some dodgy ones. But I hope you guys have enjoyed hanging out with us in the garden. I really appreciate you spending your time with us. I would love it if you are not subscribed, that you would consider subscribing. We are almost at the point where I can start to make an income from making these videos on YouTube. To those who have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we will see you in the next video. But for right now, I am going inside to have a drink of ice water because this summer is kicking my backside. I'll see you guys in the next video.